Hey guys, how are you? Today is Monday, September 10th, 2018, and I'm going to try to do a stitch with me. Now, this isn't probably ideal, and I'm sorry if the angle's a little bit weird. I'm trying something else out. Normally, I record it on my camcorder, but right now I'm on my phone. And I tried to buy kind of like one of those bendy arm tools that you can attach to some sort of surface or rod or shelf with a clip, but the clip didn't work. So what I tried is I have this very tall floor lamp, which you can see shining down on my work right now, and it's got kind of like the rod that it's on, and I wrapped the bendable arm around some of the lamp and sorry, just checking something, and kind of angled the part where my phone clips on towards my stitching on my Lowry stand here. Now this is recording upside down, so ideally I'll be able to either turn the frame or maybe just upload it as so. For the most part, most of us kind of just enjoy these videos for the talking aspect and to feel like we're stitching with a friend, and not so much to actually watch the stitching. You are probably stitching on your own anyway, so hopefully it's not something that's too big of a deal. So right now I'm working on one of my stockings. This is the Enchanted Ornaments stocking by Dimensions. It is a gift for someone, and I have been working on it for a number of years actually. I just realized I messed up. Oh no. Okay, let me see how I'm going to fix this. I'm gonna have to undo like all of it. That's a bit of a bummer. Okay, so I guess this stitch with me is also going to be a frog with me, possibly. It's a little bit frustrating, not gonna lie, but whatever, it is what it is. So I haven't done one of these in a long time, since before my daughter was born, and she's currently 7 months old, so it's certainly been a little while with that. It's actually nighttime and I do not feel very tired, so I took advantage of that and decided to use the time for some stitching, because I really would like to get this stocking done for this Christmas. I don't know if I've mentioned it in this video. I know I just mentioned that I was stitching on it for a while, and then I noticed I made a mistake. So I probably started this stocking like 2 years ago, and one of the reasons that I haven't felt the push to work on it is because it is a surprise and the person that's getting it doesn't know, which in a way works in my favor, because I have a couple of whips like that are stitchy gifts and the people don't exactly know they're getting them, because as you guys know, we kind of get caught up in our projects, or most of us do, and we don't get things done when we think we're going to get them done, which is frustrating, I'm sure, for the people receiving the gift. I know that you get into the whole like, well, do they understand the amount of time and effort and all of that, and that's not something that I really take issue with. People I stitch for are very appreciative, even if they're not stitchers. For the most part, they are crafters, so they understand what goes into it. Regardless, I'm pretty cool about giving away stitch things. I'm not a super big downer when it comes to like, oh, they don't even understand. Now, if anybody ever was just rude about it to my face, that'd be a different story. But I'm not put off by like thinking that maybe whoever's receiving the gift doesn't truly understand how much even a small piece takes. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. The person that is getting this does know how long it takes, is very appreciative, but does not know they're getting it. So, you know, that really does help. I don't think they're even expecting it, so it's even better that way. Anyway, since it's been a long time, and I tend to talk a lot anyway, and I don't really need to, but just to kind of keep me on track and keep some sort of timeliness to this video, though I know for some of you, you actually don't mind it being long, but I can easily go on for hours. So I've decided to do a tag. I heard of this tag through Michelle Bendy Stitchy. She did it a couple Stitch With Me's ago. It is by a YouTuber called Stitching and Sound Kyle, like his flossing name is Stitching and Sound, and then his name is right after, Kyle Reckemeyer, I believe that's how you say it. I actually haven't watched his videos, but I probably will watch some after completing the tag. I just thought the tag itself was pretty interesting. I did wait some time to do this one because I wanted to have the perfect time to do a video, but two, also the idea behind the tag is that he wanted you to answer the questions without really having time to prepare. And if I did it like right after I heard the tag, the questions would still be fresh in my mind, and I would, you know, it wouldn't be realistic or as he wanted it to be. Now for me, some of these questions might be familiar because I've done quite a few tags in the past, but it also has been a long time since I did do them. I did them mostly, I don't think it was even last year, I think it was 2 years ago, so I think it'll be fine. One thing I didn't think about is this project does take a little thought because there's a lot of jumping around, but I think it's gonna be okay. So let me just see where I am here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Why does this not look right? No, never mind. Yes, it does. Okay, so the tag is split up into 3 sections. Each section has 10 questions for a total of 30 questions. So I'm going to go ahead and answer those now. I was going to say if you see me, look up, but you can't because this is a Stitch With Me and you can't see my face at all. One thing I have to say I hate about blended threads is having to rethread my needle a bunch. By the way, I actually cut my thread double the length that I like to stitch with, and then I insert one side and get my needle all the way in the middle of the thread and then loop it around. So after I start my thread and loop it around the back, or sorry, run it through the back of some stitches, my needle is sealed in there because I tend to pull it off otherwise, but you can't really do that with blended threads. So that's something that's a little frustrating for me. Anyway, so let's get started with the tag before it gets too much longer and I haven't even talked about it. So the first section is about your craft. I guess I haven't watched him, but from my understanding, he wanted it geared toward multiple crafters because we've got knitters, crocheters, quilters, cross stitchers, of course, needlepoint, and recently diamond painting, which, by the way, I have tried. I'm still trying it. It's definitely nothing that would replace cross stitching for me, but it's definitely interesting. That much I can certainly say. Anyway, so for this tag, I'm gonna go ahead and just stick with cross stitching, since that is my main hobby and craft that I enjoy. So question number 1 is, what is your favorite thing about your craft? My craft being cross stitching. I really enjoy making the picture kind of come alive. Starting with, did I just skip there? I think I did. Starting with a blank fabric and just going from there and slowly seeing it come alive. And that happens no matter how you stitch. You could stitch cross country. You might stitch, what did I do here? I don't know, that looks a little odd. You can stitch a page at a time. You can stitch, like I said, cross country, a color at a time. You could park. You could do a section at a time. No matter what, like just seeing the picture grow and become something is always been the best part for me. And just being able to look back and look at it and say, wow, like I created that, I did that. Even if you are following a pattern, like you made it, you know, something out of thread and fabric. And I just think that part is so cool. And of course, like the process of doing it is really relaxing. Now, I'm not just a process stitcher, I definitely like the finishes, but of course I enjoy the process, or else I wouldn't be doing it. But yeah, just seeing a picture really come together, especially when it's a really well designed pattern and the picture looks really top notch, is great. Okay, number 2 says, what? Oh my gosh, that was number 2. Number 1 is, when and why did you start your craft? So a little switcheroo there. I mentioned this before. I started my very first experience with cross stitching. I was about 14 years old, like either late 13, early 14, and my dad bought me a cross stitch kit. It was a tiny Christmas ornament kit, and he just like kind of said, you know, my mom, so my grandmother, his mom, used to do this when I was younger, and she really enjoyed it, and you've been, you know, like you enjoy crafty things, so I thought you might want to try it. And I said, sure, why not? And I really did. I did about 3, maybe 4 more projects after that, and then life just sort of got in the way, so I stopped. I picked it up again around February of 2015. I just happened to be shopping for some stuff for the house. At that point, my husband and I had somewhat recently moved into our home that we live in now. And I think I was at Walmart, and I've mentioned this before, I said Walmart, but I know I bought 2 kits. One was at Walmart and one was at Joann Fabrics. I think the very first one was at Walmart though, and I just kind of saw it and was thinking, you know what, I remember really liking this and I am searching for something to do, so I'm gonna go ahead and try this. And I picked it up, and I think before I even started, I bought the second kit. So I think the first kit I might have actually bought at Joann's, and the second kit might have been the Walmart one, but that's the first one that I did. And I just started it and I really enjoyed it pretty much right away. I just really liked it. So I decided to keep going with it. And as you guys know, it kind of just sucks you in, and I learned so much about it just within those few months. I found myself a Facebook group, then I found a couple more, and that was really awesome, and that just expanded it because I learned about online shops and LNSs and designers that you could just buy patterns from and really customize your projects. And yeah, so I just wanted something to do, and I picked this up and really enjoyed it, so I'm still doing it, and I think I will forever be doing it, and I'm really happy about that. So that was 1 and 2, just a little switcheroo there. Number 3 is my least favorite thing about the craft. I mean, honestly, there's not like something specific that I don't like about the craft itself. Maybe something that can be frustrating is how long a project can take. As fun as it is and exciting as it is, sometimes you really just want to get a project finished, or I just wish it could kind of go a little faster. But I mean, that's not a fault of the craft itself, you know what I mean? That's just the reality of, you know, I don't have all the time in the world to stitch. I wish I did, but I don't. Maybe at one point in my life I will have more time. When I first started, I definitely had a decent amount of time, and I was able to really enjoy it and get into it. And I am very thankful for that. But after that, like, life definitely started getting in the way. You know, I started my master's, which I've since graduated from. But I recently had my baby girl, and obviously she takes up a lot of time. Um, but I know there'll be a season in my life in which I'll get the opportunity to have more stitchy time. So while it's frustrating sometimes to not have as much time to stitch, therefore it taking even longer, it's also nice. Like, I just know that that time will come at some point, and I am still stitching, so that part's cool. But I guess it's a double answer of it takes so long, and I just wish I had more time to do it. Number 4 is, what horror story do you have involving your craft? For example, like spilling coffee on an almost completed project. Thankfully, I don't think anything that dramatic has happened. Oh wait, oh my gosh. Yes, I do. I do have a horror story, and it was the worst. So it was my very first project, that Walmart kit that I was mentioning. I had done, it was a 5x7 Bucilla kit. I'm pretty sure it was a Bucilla kit. And I was maybe a quarter of the way done, and this was a pretty intense kit for being what looked to me like a beginner kit. I mean, it was full coverage. So for a, I mean, 5x7 if it's a small size, but for full coverage, that's quite a lot. It had couching, it had French knots, it had back stitching, it had long stitching, it had your regular cross stitches, it had half stitches. I mean, some of those are very basic, but just it had a lot going on for something that was a beginner kit. Ooh, and that just made me think of something a little more realistic for my least favorite part. If you buy a kit, sorting all that floss. Like, I am very thankful for kits that have pre-sorted floss, and I am not completely against using kits. I know some people just won't even buy it because of that purpose, or because they're just don't like the quality. I'm okay. I've only ever had one kit that I really struggled with using the provided materials, but just sorting that floss can be a nightmare. I think that first kit actually had a few different blues, greens, and grays that all looked very similar. Like, a few of the blues looked really similar, a few of the grays looked really similar, and a few of the greens looked really similar. And it just took me such a long time to sort. And then later I got an even bigger kit, which also happened to be by Bucilla, and the kit itself is really nice, and the floss is nice, and the fabric is nice, but it had a lot of greens and browns because it was like a jungle scene. I actually still have it. I haven't worked on it very much because I had so many other things going on. And I actually ended up buying a DMC color card, and going online and finding a Bucilla to DMC color code converter so that I could figure out what some of those colors were, because it was a nightmare. So kind of editing my answer there to number 3, my least favorite part is just sorting crazy floss when it comes in kits. But anyway, to the original question of number 4 in the horror story. So I was stitching originally downstairs in our dining room table, and I left the kit out on the table, and we'd recently acquired our puppies, so I started stitching this February of 2015, and we'd gotten the dogs December of 2014. They were our Christmas gifts to each other, so they were still puppies at the time. One must have been about 8 months old, the other one was about 5-6 months old. So they were still in their crate, just because we were still house training them, and yeah. Anyway, so I left it, I was done stitching for the day. I left it on the counter, or on the dining room table, and I don't know, I slept in the next morning, and I guess my husband stayed up late or got up early, and he was cleaning, because we try as best as possible to kind of both do the chores. Like, we've never been like one where like I have to do all the chores or he has to do all the like housework of like fixing things. Like, we don't really follow that. We just kind of do the things we enjoy the most, Like, I mean, not that we enjoy chores, but you know what I mean, like the ones that we like doing better than others, we try to get done and just help each other out. Anyway, so he was organizing, and somehow he's not really sure what happened. I'm not sure if we could ever really figure out like how it happened, but somehow he ended up knocking my project into the crate area, onto like the top of the crate, and then it fell through the bars and the dogs got at it, and I guess they were chewing on it or something. Anyway, they made this giant hole in the fabric, and it was just not, there was no way to recover it. There was no, just nothing to be done. So at one point my husband comes upstairs, and he's like, and he was talking to me, letting me know how his morning was and what he was doing, and he says, the dogs kind of got at your project, and he showed it to me, and it was upset, and I wasn't really like mad at him. I was just like upset. Like I teared up and I kind of cried a little bit, because I was like, oh my gosh, all that work. So yeah, so I kind of got myself together, and I told him, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go and get myself to Walmart and hope they still have this kit, and thankfully they did. The kit itself wasn't very expensive. It was like maybe $5-6. Yeah, definitely started in a different spot when I restarted that, and it's finished and done, and I'm very glad that I did redo it and didn't just give up on it. But that was my horror story. So yeah, very, very, very frustrating. Dogs haven't ruined another project yet. They did ruin the cover to a pattern once, but none of the pattern itself nor the flosser fabric got ruined, so that was a good thing. And they got at a Q-snap clamp once. That wasn't a big deal either. The project itself was fine, and the clamps wear down anyway, so I replaced them. So like, it's been annoying, but never like that where they've actually ruined a project. And I've been very careful to not leave anywhere anything that's too nearly accessible to them, so that they don't get at it and ruin it, because that's just not cool. Okay, number 5, have you ever struggled to finish a project, and why do you think you struggled? Gosh, I can't think of one right now, but I know there are projects I have that I've struggled to work on, mostly because of time issues, but I guess I do have one, kind of. So, hold on, let me just make sure I know where I am. So I had this little thing that I had started, and it was for a sale, probably later in 2015, after I'd found my Facebook groups and I kind of really got into them. I was like super into joining sales and like just sharing in that fun, and oh my goodness, it's so fun, and blah blah blah, all of that. But honestly, I feel like I started a lot of stuff that I just started because it was a sale. I think these stitches are wrong, but I'm not 100% sure. I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave them for right now. I could always stitch over them if I really need to. Okay, anyway, so I did this project, and it was like a little 4-leaf clover thing, and it was for St. Patrick's Day sale. Now, like when I'm telling you I did a bunch of sales, I did a bunch of sales. I had started one for Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Easter, and honestly only one of those is finished. Technically 2. So it was this 4-leaf clover, and it was a freebie off the Kreinik website. But at the time, I didn't have any of those Kreiniks, and I didn't really feel like spending the money on it, because it called for like 3 different ones. For a small freebie, I just didn't consider it, worth it. So I was like, okay, you know what, let me just see if I can use my DMC metallics that I have. I know they're not ideal and not a lot of people's favorite, but you know, they should be able to get the job done. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. So I got a fabric from AC Moore. It was one of those Charles Craft tubes, which I really enjoyed the Ada from there, and as well as the Monaco. The Monaco is actually some of my favorite fabric ever. I've heard some rumors that they might not be selling it anymore, and I really hope that's not the case because I love it. I really enjoy using that fabric, and I'd be very sad if it was discontinued. Well, they also have a linen. They have one in, I think one is in salt and one is in sand. So beach theme, obviously the salt is the white linen. The sand is kind of like this beige linen with darker brown streaks. So I really wanted to try and use it. I hadn't really used linen too much at that point, and I got this linen. It's terrible. The holes are so huge and the fiber is so thin. Like, it's just not, it's not very sturdy. It's horrible. On top of that, I was using the DMC metallic, which I have learned since then how to really use it. I know a lot of people hate it. It's definitely not my favorite at all. There's better metallics out there, but I mean, it's usable, it's doable. I have a lot of it, and I've learned kind of how to use it in a good way. So yeah, I've been doing that. And it's just a combination of the fabric and not knowing how to use the metallic at the time. The project was so frustrating. I ended up cutting it short. And like I had put it away for a long time, and when I picked it up again, because there was a point where I'm like, you know what, I have a lot of little things started, I'm just gonna finish them and get a bunch of little finishes and kind of bring those whips down, and I just couldn't do it. It was driving me crazy. So I decided to modify it, and I made one leaf, like one of the leaves of the clover, and that was it, and I just called it done. It's away somewhere, but I just wasn't enjoying it, and since then I haven't really started stuff just for a sal. If there's a sal that really appeals to me, I'll try and find a piece that works for it, or if I have a piece that already works for a sal that's already going, I'll do that. But I'm definitely at that point where I have too much I want to stitch to just be starting something random just because there's a sal for it. Like, that's just not happening. Right. Okay. Number 6, where's your favorite place to do your craft? I enjoy stitching here in the office. Behind me is my husband's now full-time office. He used to work for a company and actually would go to the office, and somewhat recently he got a new job in which he works from home, so he's got his everything all set up there. So he spends pretty much all his time here, which makes it sometimes a little hard. I mean, I can definitely stitch, but it's harder to record in here because this is where I would record as well. Right now he is sleeping because he has something important in the morning. He usually can get up later because he works from home and the schedule is flexible, but he actually has something to do in the morning, so he made sure to get to bed early, and baby girl is sleeping. If she has a good night, hopefully I'll be able to finish recording this before she wakes up, but if not, I can always pause and continue. Anyway, so I like it in here because I get to be with him, I spend time with him. Everything's comfortable. There's a chair for the baby here, so if she ever does give me the opportunity to, I can put her in there and stitch, but usually that's not the case. Usually she's in there because I'm helping my husband with something and then I gotta pick her up. So I just like it here. It's comfy, everything's set up, all my supplies are here. And in the past it was definitely my favorite because my husband would either be working or gaming and I'd be here stitching, and we can kind of just talk and just be in close proximity of each other, even if we weren't directly like playing something together or something like that. But it's still my favorite place because it's comfy and everything's set up and it feels really homey up here. Alright, number 7, do you remember how you felt when you completed your first project? Accomplished, excited, doubly excited because as I said, it was the second time I'd started it. Now if you are talking about the very first time when I was 14, I don't know, I guess just really excited that I'd found something I really enjoyed doing. But again, life got in the way at that point, and sorry, I know my hand's in the way, but my Q-snap is just a little bit too large for this project. So, whoa, I think I just dropped something. It's a needle. I can see it. I'll get it in a minute. So both times I felt accomplished, but this first time where it really kicked off my stitching now was accomplished and excited, and so glad I'd persevered with it, because it was extremely frustrating to have to start it twice, especially when I had so much of it done. But I'm very thankful in a way that I had to start again, because the very first time I had started the project, I didn't realize that the pattern was bigger than my fabric. I thought it was a size match. Before you think that's silly, even though it is silly, the pattern was actually relatively close to a 14 size. Like if you measured the, the boxes on the grid of the pattern, it was maybe like 16 count, not 16 count, larger, so like 12 or 11 count, or the equivalent of, and my fabric was a 14 count Aida. So it was close enough that I thought it would match, and my paper was actually the exact same size as my fabric, so I just assumed that it should match. So I was looking at it and I'm like, wow, they cut this fabric kind of small, like I have to start in like the second to last line before the end of the fabric. And so restarting it actually gave me a lot more room to work. So yeah. Anyway, I was very, very accomplished and excited about the first one. Alright, are there any subjects you gravitate towards? Religion, Halloween, flowers, etc.? I like pretty ladies. I love mermaids. Those are my jam. I love my mermaids. You guys know if you've been watching. If you don't, I really enjoy mermaids. I've started about 5 2 Nora Corbetts. One is complete, and I have 3 full-size Mirabilias going. Haven't finished any of those, but I'm working on them. I also have a Passione Ricamo mermaid started, though only just started, and I think I'm actually going to restart it on a different fabric. I only have like 20 stitches in the thing. Yeah. I also, do I have anything else? I've done other little things that involve mermaids, but I really enjoy that. I actually kind of like the stockings. I do them mainly because my family has stockings, and there are people in the family who need stockings. And for a long time, there was only one person in the family, really my husband's family, but now my family too, that was stitching the stockings. And she's getting older, she would like some help, and I offered to help. So we had kind of a lull the last couple years, but we have 2 weddings coming up. I had my daughter recently. I'm working on her stocking. Another family member recently had a baby, so there's plenty of stockings to be stitched. So I guess I enjoy the Christmas stockings too, but my favorite are probably the mermaids right now. I think they're really lots of fun. I also really, really love Stitchrovia and her patterns. What completed project would you most like to revisit in the future, and would you make any changes? To be honest, I don't think I would revisit any of my projects. I just think I spent too much time stitching them, and there's so many other things I want to stitch that revisiting a project I don't think it's something I would really want to do. But if I really, really thought about it and I had to give you an answer, like if I ever actually considered it, I may consider the Quotes to Live by Stitchrovia. It was her charity sale. Has 9 quotes, a big border, and a title. And I am very, very proud of that project. I started the project, the very first thing I did was I changed some colors. There was a lot of pink going on in that pattern, and I just didn't like that. I wanted to change it to something I would like, and I made it purple. Then the very first quote, I actually kept most of the called for colors, but in that particular project, each quote has a word that's kind of bold in the quote. And I'm like, you know what? I want to try and do this variegated thread with it. So that's what I decided to do. And after I'd finished it and the next quote came out, it was kind of like it kind of looked sort of garden themed, and I had a different variegated thread that was pink and greens, and I thought it would look really nice because it would become near like gardeny. Well, that just kind of sparked this whole idea, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do every quote. I'm gonna pick a variegated thread for the bold word and kind of center my colors around it. So I did a lot of changes to the quote. As far as colors, I didn't change the quote or anything like that. So because of that, I kind of wish I hadn't done that initial title section as well as the border with the called for colors. The called for colors were the pinks, which I changed to purples, and some blues and teals. The teal I actually really like and probably would have kept it or used something really similar anyway, but the blues are a little bit more grayish blues, and I think more bold blues would have looked better with my color choices. But since at the time I didn't know I was going to be changing my colors, I just kind of went with what was charted. So if I did ever consider revisiting a project, it probably would be that, and I would change the blues that were charted to somewhat bolder blues instead of kind of grayish blues. That would be what I would do. Now, am I actually going to do that? Probably not, because it looks fine. And it's not something that I look at and I'm like upset about. I just kind of wish I thought about it, you know. But it is what it is, and I'm overall very, very happy with that project. So I don't think I want to put myself under the stress of ripping all the blue out and restitching it when there are so many other things I want to stitch and work on. And number 10, the last one in this section, what is something about your craft you know that you wish you knew when you first began? I don't know. Maybe that I'd known about it sooner, I'd been able to stitch so much more by then. I don't know. Maybe that there were gonna be much less kits available in the craft stores nowadays, because I really, like I said, I am not a kit hater. I enjoy a lot of the patterns that came in those kits, and I know they're easy to find online, or LNSs can order them, or 123 Stitch may have them. But I just like, you know, like I wish I'd appreciated that when it was there, and the accessibility of those kits. Like now, most craft stores have very small sections and not a lot of choices with what's there. I mean, we didn't have a ton to begin with, you know, just the kits, but like you could, within that, you still had a lot of choice within those kits, and now that really isn't the case. So unless somebody finds about stitching either by running into FlossTube or a friend that does it, or has an LNS in the area, like it's kind of hard. Like before, like you could be somebody like me who was just strolling down an aisle in a craft store and even a Walmart and saw something that looked interesting and saw that there was a lot of choices to pick from and was interested in it. And now that's not something that'll likely happen with cross stitching because the choices are few, and it's not like it's a very highly advertised craft, you know. Like you either have to know somebody that knows it or be introduced to it somehow. I mean, once you discover it, there's so much, but I don't think it's something that you easily just find out about, just like, you know, like knitting or crocheting, for example. Like you can go in a craft store and there's so much yarn and there's books and magazines, and that's something that without knowing too much about it, you could find out a lot about it. And I don't think that's the case with cross stitching, and I wish it were. Okay, that knot is staying. So yeah, that's number 10 there. Alright, music. Who are your favorite bands and musicians? Rank them as possible. Gosh, this is really hard for me because I don't really listen to a lot of music. I've listened to the radio on occasion. I listen to it more when I had longer commutes. At, at college, of course, that was one. But then also I used to work somewhere really far away from my home. Well, not really far away, but I mean a decent commute. So I had time to listen to that. And I don't. And I would go in between listening to like stuff I had saved in my iPod and eventually phone, to listening to audiobooks. So even then I didn't listen to a ton, and I would just enjoy stuff that came on the radio. But even then, like, I kind of tend to go back to stuff I like. I'm a really big fan of show tunes and musicals, so I enjoy a lot of those soundtracks, which means I don't listen to a lot of bands. My favorite musical is The Phantom of the Opera, so I listen to that a ton, but I enjoy many, many other musicals, and I have those soundtracks saved, either ones that I purchased and uploaded myself onto iTunes and then onto my iPod, and now phone, and I listen to that a lot, like just over and over and over, in all honesty. So, it's hard for me to pick a band that I like because I've never been a big band person. Let me make sure I'm doing this correctly. But bands that I have enjoyed in the past, my very first band that I liked was Backstreet Boys. I really enjoy them. I still listen to them sometimes. So I really like those. I've enjoyed bands my dad's played for me, like Led Zeppelin. I really like listening to them, and that's like strictly something that I was introduced to by my dad, not something I really listen to on my own. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. That's what it is. So yeah, I'm not really big band person. I listened to a lot of Britney Spears when I was younger, as well as Shakira. I really, really enjoy Shakira. But the thing is, a lot of you, the Shakira you know is not the Shakira I know. The Shakira I know has 3 albums that you probably have never even heard of that are entirely in Spanish. She is from Colombia. I am from Colombia, and she got really popular then. I'm very, very young, so I listened to that, and then like witnessing just the change. I mean, some of her current music I enjoyed, but there was also a lot of it that I didn't enjoy, and I think that kind of turned me off for that. So there's that. I also really like Mark Anthony. Yeah. But there's not a lot that I can pinpoint and say I love. I like a lot of songs from a lot of people, but other than the ones I've mentioned, I don't like, there's not one person that I just follow and listen to, and like, I just kind of pick songs that I like, and great, and I may never listen to anything from them again, other than that one song. So yeah, I don't know if that's a common musical experience. I feel like most people probably do have a favorite band, but that's just not me. Who would I want? What's wrong category? What is your favorite song? What about it makes it your favorite? I don't have a favorite song. I have favorite musicals. As I said, I will listen to Phantom of the Opera a lot. I listen to the Les Mis soundtrack a lot. I like to listen to the Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat soundtrack, the Aida soundtrack. Those are the ones I can think of that I pretty much like every single song. From there are other musicals. Oh, Chicago, I enjoy that one a ton. And I just like them. They're fun, they're lively, they tell a story, they make pictures in my mind, even if I hadn't seen the musical. Movie musicals, I'm telling you, like, if they do them right, they are great, and it makes me super happy. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand with music. What is the first album I bought with my own money? I can't remember what I bought with my own money. I really can't. I remember albums that I got in the beginning, but I don't remember if it was exactly with my own money. I know it was at least with a gift card, and I can tell you a few. I know And I don't know which one was the very, very first one. But I can tell you that from the first ones I remember were Britney Spears, her first CD, I don't remember the name of it, but the one that had Baby One More Time on it, and Backstreet Boys, their first album as well. Those were two, like, the very first purchases I remember. I don't know if they were the very first purchases ever, but they were the very first purchases that I remember. What has been your favorite concert you've ever attended? Do musicals count? They're kind of like concerts. I mean, I've seen Phantom 5-6 times, so I think 5 times. I don't know if that counts. No, okay, I'm joking. I don't know. I've liked all the concerts I've attended. I haven't attended that many. I attended a Backstreet Boys concert. I attended an 18s concert. It was actually, I don't even, Aaron Carter, but it was funny because my mom's friend's kids wanted to go see Aaron Carter, and so she invited me to go. And at the time I didn't really like him, and I never was a big Aaron Carter person. But I saw that the opening act was 18s, and I was just so much more excited for 18s than Aaron Carter, and the Aaron Carter part was okay. But I was just super thrilled I got to see 18, so that was kind of fun. I went to a Ricky Martin concert. I really enjoyed that. That's pretty much all I'm not a big concert person. I'd really honestly rather go to see a musical than a concert, so I feel kind of bad. I feel like I'm not answering what you're expecting, but I mean, it is what it is, right? So out of all those concerts, I guess maybe the Backstreet Boys concert, because it was something I really wanted to go to, and I don't know, for some reason I didn't think to ask my parents to go. I was just kind of like, oh, like, I saw that Y100 was having a contest for it, so I'm like, well, why don't I just try and, do this contest, and maybe I'll get the ticket and I'll win. And so I told my parents, I'm like, hey, they're having this contest. If you're I think it was the 7th caller, you could get tickets. Like, do you mind if I try? And my dad's like, no, don't do that. You don't need to do that. And he's like, do you want to go? I mean, we could look at tickets. And I was like, really? I mean, yeah, I'd like to go. So yeah, the fact alone that, like, they just got me the tickets because I wanted to go was really, really cool. And I think I enjoyed it even more so because of that. And because I went with my dad, who probably was, I mean, I don't know, he enjoys music, so maybe he just appreciated, like, that alone. But I just thought it was really sweet of him, and I really appreciated that. So that made it a really fun concert. If you could bring back from the afterlife one musician, who would it be and why? I don't know, guys. I guess Celia Cruz. I just think she was such a wonderful lady, and I think her story's awesome. She was told that she just, like, nobody would enjoy listening to her, and they wouldn't like her, and I get the feeling that happens a lot. Like, people get told that, and, no, they totally rise above and beyond. But she did her thing, and she sang her music, and that was it, So I thought that was really cool. And I know at the end I think, I'm not 100% sure because I was a little bit younger, but, like, her mental status wasn't the greatest, so, I just, so she could come back and be full and healthy and singing her awesome music. It would be really, really great. Do you play any instruments, or any instruments you wish you could play? This is gonna sound really interesting to you, maybe. I really like the recorder. Yes, the recorder, the little plastic flute that probably annoy a million parents a year. In case you don't know, here in the US, you are required to learn the recorder in elementary school, and then for the most part, it just kind of goes away. But I just have always been interested in it, and it's cool that it's something I could play. And for a while, I really got into it, like when I first started learning in elementary school. And then obviously that went away, and then I became interested again in college when I was taking my education courses. We were required to take all the, I guess you could call them extracurricular subject courses, and so we had to do art and PE and music, because you could, one, incorporate them into your own lessons, and there are music and art and PE teachers in schools, so just to give you the opportunity to explore that, understand what your students would be learning, as well as maybe see if it's something that you'd be interested in going and pursuing, and also getting certified to teach it. And I really enjoyed that, and for a while I really practiced it, and I got some books and everything, and I was really actually kind of inspired by the professor too. We had a little music recorder test, and she said I did really well, and she said, have you ever played any, wind instruments? And I said, not really, and she's like, I think you do really good with that. So that kind of interested me in doing so, but then, college got busier and stuff, so that kind of ended there. And then recently, I was working with the music at the teacher at my school, and she mentioned the recorder, and I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, I've always enjoyed the recorder. I still have mine, and I played it somewhat recently. And she's like, really? Well, let me know. Like, I would love to play with you at some time. And we ended up actually playing a song at the school concert last year. And I really enjoyed that. I've also viewed some videos on YouTube of some really, and I mean really talented recorder players, and it's a beautiful instrument. It's fantastic, and there's more than just the soprano recorder. There's all sorts. There's alto, there's the sopranino, there's the tenor. I forget the names of the others, but I mean they get really quite large, and quite small, and there really is a lot you can do with a recorder. So I really enjoy that, and I want to get back into it, but as always, there's just tons going on. I also played the piano for a brief period of time, probably about 2-3 years when I was younger. My parents put me in piano lessons. I really actually did enjoy them, but I was never like a super big piano player, and I've always remained interested in piano, mainly because my husband does play piano. He really played for about 14 years, and I know he considered music school, but he kind of just thought of like, do I really want this to be my living? Like, I'd have to audition and travel possibly, and he decided that career-wise it wasn't something he wanted to pursue, but he still enjoys playing it. He practiced it sometimes. The last few years he helped one of our cousins with her yearly band presentation. He was her accompanist, and now he plays for Isabella, our daughter. But other than that, like, he doesn't play that much. So I remain interested, and I have my piano books, and every once in a while I've gone back and practiced a little bit, and I think that's something I'll do on and off, is just practice some piano and hopefully get a little bit more proficient at it. But I mean, I don't think I'm gonna get to his levels or anything like that. The other thing is I have really small hands, and I know, like, you're like, what? But seriously, like, some of the songs that my husband plays that I'm like, gee, that'd be cool if one day I could ever actually play that. I mean, the range, it's like incredible. Like, I just don't think I could reach that with my fingers. I really don't think I could. So I don't know, that kind of turned me off a bit. Now a dream instrument, like a lofty goal, that probably isn't gonna happen. I don't know, you never say never, I guess. But the violin, I think the violin's a really cool instrument. But realistically, probably get a little bit, you know, more proficient with the recorder and with piano as well. I think just those would make me happy. Anyway, last one in this section, how would you describe your taste in music? Narrow? Like, by choice, I could, sorry, hiccup, listen to musicals all day long. But as far as listening to a song and liking it, that happens a ton. I mean, there are some genres that I would say, even like, I don't know, rap, heavy metal, death metal, I don't even know what his genre is called, but Skrillex, what is that, dubstep, something like that. Like, my husband likes that, and I mean, as a whole, I'm like, no. But a song here and there, I've heard songs that I've enjoyed. So I could say, this is gonna sound so ridiculous, narrow but eclectic. Like, on a listening scale, like listening to something and enjoying a song here and there, pretty eclectic. I mean, I could listen to something from everything and probably find something I like. But of my own free will, what I want to listen to, I usually end up going back to show tunes, musicals. Yeah. Is there anything? I think I skipped one. I think I skipped a few. I think, yeah. I went out of order here, so I'm just gonna go back. What song, band, or genre would you consider your guilty pleasure? I don't even know. I guess, like I mentioned, the dubstep thing, like, it sounds so silly, but it's like, not something I would listen to normally, but that song here or there that I like is somewhat of a guilty pleasure, because overall, I don't enjoy that type of genre, and it gets kind of annoying for me after a while. Like, just that same sound over and over in my ear is not pleasant. But as a guilty pleasure every once in a while, yeah, it's cool. What else did I skip? Have you ever missed an opportunity to see someone that you desperately wanted to see? Oh my gosh, this is gonna sound silly. Again, this is a musical choice. I was in musical theater in my middle and high school days. Not really much of a singer, to be honest, but I enjoyed musical theater, and the acting was my strong point. So, you know, I still was in it and it was still fun, but I was usually like a smaller character that didn't have a lot of singing lines. Well, one of the very first musicals I was in, actually the first musical I was in it twice. Not in the same situation, like, sorry, once was in school, and once the second time was in musical theater camp. And that was The Music Man. And I loved that show. I enjoyed it so much. I don't know if it was just because it was the first musical I was in. I don't know if maybe it had been another musical, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. But honestly, I really, really liked it. And my favorite part about it was that the second time I was in it, I got a role for a character. If you know the show, the character is Sunita Shin, and she has not a huge role, but a decent role. And she doesn't have any solos or anything like that for singing. She's in the ensemble in a lot of the songs, but she doesn't have a lot of singing solo parts or duets or anything like that. She just has acting parts, which again was my strong point. So it was a role that I could really enjoy, a character that was hilarious and I loved to play, and I didn't have to worry about sounding ridiculous singing. So anyway, the musical came to town one year, and I'll have to go back. It probably is something that would come back and I'd have the opportunity to see it. I just haven't looked. But it was the very first time I saw it was actually the year that I performed in it, the very first time, where I was just a dancer in background. And it just so happened that it came to the local performing arts center, so my drama teacher set up a field trip to go see it. But the second time I was significantly older. I don't think I was married yet. I think my husband and I were still dating, maybe engaged, but definitely not married. And I told him, you know, like, hey, the Music Man is coming to town. I would love to go see it. Can we? Did I mess this up? And he said, you know, oh, okay, honey, well, when do you want to go? And I told him the day, and he was like, oh no. And I said, what? You know, like, what's wrong? And he said, well, that day Flogging Molly is coming to town, and he'd been wanting to go to this concert so bad. And I was like, I really want to go see this show, but he, you know, he really wants to go see Flogging Molly. And so I gave in, and I really wanted him to go because he really wanted to go. And I don't know, like, he's not, concerts are not something that he like requests to go to very much. So he clearly really wanted to go to this concert, and I'm glad we went. He had a really good time. But I was really bummed I missed out on the Music Man, and it was a one-day only show, and I don't know why that was the case. Like, usually it's at least... Sorry, I thought I heard my daughter wake up. At least a weekend, not a single day, but this time it was. And I just hadn't even looked since, so I am sad I missed it, but I'm glad we went to my husband's concert instead, and hopefully I'll look into it and find it coming to town sometime soon, and then maybe we can go see it. Okay, now really I'm finished with that section. I don't know how I did that. I looked up and I missed like 3 questions, and now this video is way over an hour long, but that's okay. I haven't uploaded in a while, so why not? Alright, let's do the last section, and it's just random questions. So hopefully I'll have better answers than just like, I'm not really into that, but... okay, so number 1 in the random section, you go into a bar, what's the first drink you get? Okay, there's usually 2 choices here. I will either get a White Russian or some sort of frozen drink, probably of the spiked lemonade variety. So like, well, I guess there's 2 realistic frozen drinks I would get. Either a pina colada, or even better, a Miami Vice, which is a pina colada with strawberry daiquiri mixed into it. But I do like a lot of spiked lemonade type drinks, and I prefer them if they are frozen rather than on ice. But again, some bars don't do frozen drinks, so if it was just like a drink, like a White Russian. Number 2, who would you want to play you in a movie, but who do you think the casting director will ultimately choose? I'm not like that super well versed when it comes to actors and actresses. I will say though, I have heard people say that America Ferrera would do a good job playing me. I don't know if it's just because she's got Hispanic background and I do too, but I don't know if I know an actress that I think would do a good job playing me, so I think I'm just gonna go with that. Yeah. And who would they ultimately choose? I have no idea. I'm really sorry about that. I couldn't preview the questions, so I couldn't even go look if I wanted to. So I don't really know much for that one. If you have any ideas and you are more well versed in actresses and their names, please feel free to share. I'd be definitely interested to hear what you had to say. What's the title of my autobiography? I have no clue. Life as a short, young looking person? I don't know. That's something that I guess kind of describes some of the situations. I am very short. I am 4'10" and a half, sometimes 4'11". My husband says I change my height every year. I've been measured at 4'10" and a half and 4'11". Most recently, like the last time I remember anybody measuring my height. Those are the two I remember. So just depending where my brain is when I'm asked, I'll say either one. And I just look young. Like, I just do. So, I mean, a lot of times that's great, you know, like, wow, you look young, whatever, especially when I'm older, right? It's not always all it's cracked up to be, because sometimes people, like, I don't know if they think I'm making stuff up. I don't know if they think I shouldn't be doing certain things. Like, I'm not talking about, like, getting carded at a bar, but, like, just being looked at, like, I don't know, like, I know this is a kind of a touchy subject and people get shamed and judged anyway, left and right, but, like, the experience, like, with Isabella, like, I've never really directly gotten too much of a bad vibe, but I know, like, people may look at me and think that I'm a really young mom and, like, poor thing or whatever, and it's like, nope, nope, we definitely wanted this baby and we waited for her, you know, and we went through our share of sad times, with our rainbow, you know, with our angel baby. She's our rainbow baby, and she was very, very much wanted. So, no, it's definitely not a situation where I do think I have a stitch that is off here. Whatever. Anyway, so just being in situations where, like, no, I'm actually not that young, I would say maybe would be a good title. Yes, I am actually be okay to do this, I guess. Honestly, I take it a lot with a grain of salt. It's never been a really tough situation. It's been in funny situations, but I could see that getting frustrating. Sometimes just having to explain, I guess. What's scarier, being trapped in a room with 100 pissed off poodles or being trapped with a leopard with no legs? I mean, I guess the leopard. And maybe it depends how good they are at rolling themselves around. If they haven't got any legs, I guess I'd feel pretty safe. Yeah. You're in a horror film. Who would you be, the hero, the victim, or the killer? Why? I'd say I'd like to be the hero and survive, but I get the feeling I'd probably end up being a victim. Depends what kind of horror film. Like, it says killer, so does this mean like a slasher film, like Freddy Krueger films? Or does it mean like a serial killer film? I don't know. Probably a victim, I guess, but I would do my very best to be the hero. What was the last movie that made you go, what the F? The tone of this can be interpreted as a disgust, surprise, confusion. I have no idea what this movie is called, but I'm gonna try and find out. It was a movie that my husband started playing, and he got the movie because of a scene he saw on Netflix. I have to say I did not finish this film, mostly because I think we had to go somewhere, or Isabella needed us or something. But it was like this weird film. I'm trying to see if I can find like the name of this movie. I'm trying to get some information here. Let's see. I think I'm gonna be able to get it. It's working, it's thinking. But it was like this weird movie that starts with Is it going? Okay, here we go. Army of Darkness. I don't it's definitely an older movie. It has this scene. I mean, it starts with this guy shooting. I don't even remember what he was shooting at, but he goes through some sort of time travel and he ends up in the past and he's being accused of either murdering or being an accomplice to some sort of murder. And so they were going to punish him by throwing him into this pit. And I guess there was some sort of monster or something at the bottom of the pit because the person that was accused before him was thrown, and all you see is this giant gurgle of blood come out. And of course it looks like red paint or something because this movie's so old, or it could just be because they were purposely trying to be cheesy. And then he somehow is able to get his gun and shoots somebody. Not like a person, sorry, one of the creatures, like, because he was actually thrown in the pit, but he manages to get away and climb out. And one of the creatures comes after him and he shoots it, and all the people are freaking out because, like, it's the old times if they never really seen a gun before. Yeah, and that's all I saw. He ends up getting, or that's not true, I saw a little bit more. He ends up getting praised and stuff because he's got this powerful rod. I don't remember what he calls it, but he actually calls it something like that. Like, this is my magic rod of power or something like that. And then they ask him to go defeat some creature. And then that's all I saw. I was just like, what the heck is going on here? This is so weird. Yeah. Where is your ideal vacation spot? I have way too many. I really enjoy camping with my hubby. The last really big vacation we had was a cabin in the mountains, and it was amazing. It was wonderful, and I would love to go back there. I'm not saying it's the only vacation spot I would like, but it's definitely something that I would love to do again. What is the one food that everyone seems to like but you can't stand? I don't know if this is fair because I feel like there has to be more people out there that don't like this, but for the most part I hear that they do. I'm not a big fan of pickles. I feel like that's a common food that people like, but I also feel like there are probably people out there that don't like it and I just haven't talked to them. But I'm not a big fan of pickles, and I'm not a big fan of mushrooms either. And I know a lot of people close to me that do enjoy mushrooms and pickles. What slogan or phrase do you think sums up your life? I don't know. The artistic life, I guess. I don't even, that's not really a slogan. I just made that up, but I really like artsy things and trying artsy things. I don't know if that works. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of arts and crafts and artsy stuff. And number 10, um, because I took forever and a day to do this. I'm sorry that I'm so awkward. I hope you enjoy this and have some fun with it because I do feel kind of silly. Like, I definitely am lacking in practice. But anyway, number 10, what is your rough estimate of how much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I'm just gonna come up with some random number. And I don't know, rough estimate of how much wood in what time? In its lifetime? What even is a woodchuck? Like, it makes me think of like an animal, but is it a machine? Oh, it is a groundhog. Okay, that's what I thought. But for a second, I'm like, wait a minute, is that really what a woodchuck is, or am I like not thinking straight? But yes, it is a groundhog, which is what I was thinking. I don't know, but what do you mean? Like in a day, in a year, in a month, in a lifetime? And that this is relative to the amount of time we're talking about. Like this is not, there's not enough information to complete this problem. I guess, I don't know, 6 giant tree logs a day. I'm gonna go with that. Okay, guys, so I know this was again not the best angle, but I hope that I made good conversation and I was able to give you a little bit of stitchy time or diamond painting time if that's what you're choosing to try. And that, yeah, that it was somewhat interesting for you and my stuttering wasn't too like silly because I definitely did stutter some. And yeah, if you have any questions for me, if you know of a good actress that could play me, leave a comment below. Hopefully I will get the opportunity to do these a little more often. But right now it's just kind of whenever time allows. I hope you're having a wonderful time, that you've gotten some stitchy time to yourself, that you've been working on your projects, and that you're just having a good time overall. And if you can't see me on the screen, I'm kind of stirring a bit because I am struggling with my floss here being a slightly knotted up. Alright guys, I will see you hopefully soon. I do have some clips I'm trying to string together into an update video, so hopefully that'll be coming soon as well. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you for taking some time to watch my video and hang out with me. And I am so glad to be doing videos at least every once in a while right now because it's a lot of fun and I enjoy it and I miss FlossTube. So anyway, I'll talk to you next time. Bye guys. Let me know, feedback about recording like this, if this is fine, if it's kind of really annoying to see me upside down, if you don't care because, you know, it's a video and you're stitching and you're getting to listen to me ramble on about some silliness. Yeah, I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.